Hi there, and welcome to video number 8 in our Move Towards Canadian Federation unit. So in today's video, our essential question is, did Canada gain full independence in 1867, and can we actually call Canada an independent country? In order to answer that essential question, you must be able to do the following success criteria. You need to be able to name the Constitution in 1867. You need to be able to name the provinces that made up Canada in 1867. You should be able to describe the reasons for and against the Federation project. And finally, you must be able to evaluate the political structure that was established by the British North America Act and some of the powers of the people involved in it. Let's get started on today's video. Okay, so let's really start getting into answering some of our essential question success criteria. So in 1867, the British North America Act gets signed, and this is the Constitution that gets signed. Basically, this forms what is now called the Dominion of Canada. So it's no longer called United Canada, it's called the Dominion of Canada. And the Dominion of Canada is made up of 4 provinces, which are, the official names are Ontario, which used to be Canada West, Quebec, which used to be Canada East, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. Things to keep in mind are that, you'll see here, Newfoundland and PEI are not part of the Dominion of Canada. They are still technically British colonies. You'll also notice that British Columbia has a boundary around it. That is also a British colony at this point. Rupert's Land is still Rupert's Land, which is British possessions, but they are not part of the Dominion of Canada. So right about now is the time where you might start asking yourself about the essential question. So did Canada actually gain full independence in 1867? Well, if you look at that word Dominion, by definition, a Dominion is a state which is a member of the British Commonwealth or a group of former British Empire colonies that still remain united with the Crown. So at this point, because at this point, Canada is still considered a Dominion. The reason for that is called a constitutional monarchy was in place. And the constitutional monarchy is actually a political system in which the official head of state, so the person in charge, or the head of state, which is like the actual top level person in the government, is a monarch. So that means a king or a queen. However, it's important to note that the king or queen's power was limited by a constitution, is limited by a constitution. Which constitution? This one, the British North America Act. So basically what I want you to take away from this is that Canada is now a dominion. It manages its own finances, its own economy, its own political affairs, and its own political system. However, when it comes to international politics and foreign policy, as well as its army, Canada is still just a dominion because it is still run by the British government, the monarch, okay, back in Great Britain. But it's been granted more independence at a local level, so with its own economy, its own political structure, but internationally, it's still governed by Great Britain. Okay, so here's our political organization in 1867. So this is how the government of the Dominion of Canada was set up. So let's just talk. So you still have the Governor General at the top. That's the governor. Above the governor, it would be the monarch, right? So you have to imagine the monarch is up here in Great Britain and still appoints its Governor General. Then, below the Governor General, you have 2 branches of government, okay? You've got the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, who are responsible for enforcing laws at that time. So they're like think of it like those people are the executive branch. Remember the Executive Council? Well, now you can call them the executive branch. So that's the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. Then below it, you have the different ministries. So on the legislative side, Remember the Legislative Council? Well, now you have the legislative branch made up of the House of Commons and the Senate, both of which make and vote on laws and legislation, okay? So they are responsible for actually creating the laws. They don't enforce them, but they create the laws by voting on them. And then finally, you've got the public at the bottom, okay? Just a quick summary of how things look now. And finally, the last thing we're going to do today is we're just going to talk about the distribution of power inside the Dominion of Canada. So the distribution of power inside the government was broken down into three sectors. There was the federal jurisdiction, the provincial jurisdiction, and then there was called the shared jurisdiction. Okay? At the federal level, things like Indian affairs, so how they were dealing with Aboriginals, at the time was a federal issue. The Army was a federal issue. The type of currency, how they were going to decide on money, and banking was federal. Some other examples include things like criminal law and taxes, so federal taxes. Okay. The other thing we can add in there also is commerce, meaning like trading internationally. At the provincial level, things like justice were enforced. Things like marriage would take place at the provincial level. Education. Roads. Health. The division of municipalities, so towns. It's municipalities. And then finally there's a shared jurisdiction. So they would discuss things like agriculture. Sorry for my writing. So agriculture. Immigration was like a shared jurisdiction on who could immigrate. Fisheries. So that's a big economic focus. Prisons. Transportation. And economic development, which is a big one. We've been talking about economic development a lot, and so they now were sharing that responsibility, and they would openly discuss how to develop their economy. Hello again, and I hope you enjoyed watching video number 8, but before we go, let's just first be reminded of our essential question, which was really two questions. So did Canada gain full independence in 1867, and can we call Canada, or the Dominion of Canada, an independent country? In order to answer that question, you must be able to answer the following success criteria. So you need to be able to name the Constitution established in 1867, name the provinces that made up Canada in 1867, describe the reasons for and against this federation project, and to evaluate the political structure that was established in 1867 and some of the powers of the people involved. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.